Why do some SSDs lose most of their speed halfway through copying a large game? Why did certain flagship drives start dying after only weeks of normal use? And if modern SSDs all advertise absurd speeds, what are you actually supposed to look at before buying one? SATA versus NVMe. If you think this is SATA and this is M2, you're only half right. SATA drives can also come in the same stick-of-gum shape. M2 is just the physical form factor, not the speed standard itself. Some M2 drives still use the older SATA protocol internally, which caps out around 550 megabytes per second, basically the same performance as traditional 2.5-inch SSDs connected by a cable. Modern NVMe drives are completely different underneath. Instead of using the older SATA interface originally designed back in the hard drive era, NVMe communicates directly over PCI Express lanes connected to the CPU or chipset. That massively reduces latency and unlocks far higher bandwidth, which is why modern drives advertise speeds like 5,000, 7,000, or even 14,000 megabytes per second. This speed usually depends on the PCIe generation, and we'll get to that in a second. There's also another important difference most people never think about: command handling. SATA was designed for mechanical hard drives and can only process a relatively small number of requests simultaneously. NVMe was built specifically for flash memory and handles massively parallel workloads far more efficiently. That's why NVMe drives feel noticeably faster during multitasking, game installs, Windows updates, or large file transfers, not just in synthetic benchmarks. Physically, modern SSDs also come in different lengths and layouts. Most desktop drives use the common M2 2280 format, but laptops, handheld gaming PCs, and ultrabooks sometimes require shorter variants like 2230. And not every M2 slot supports every drive type. Some motherboard slots only support NVMe, some support both SATA and NVMe, and some share bandwidth with SATA ports or PCIe slots, meaning installing one drive can quietly disable another port entirely. PCIe Generations. PCIe generations mostly determine maximum bandwidth. The bandwidth available to these NVMe drives doubles with every single generation. Third-generation drives maxed out around 3,500 megabytes per second, while fourth-gen drives push that ceiling to 7,500. Modern 5th-gen drives are touching close to 15,000 megabytes per second. That looks incredible on a marketing slide, but the real-world utility drops off massively for daily tasks. Load up a modern game or boot up Windows 11. The difference in loading times between a 7,000 megabyte second drive and a 15,000 one is often less than half a second. Windows boot times barely move because the initial startup relies on thousands of tiny files rather than massive, continuous blocks of data. Paying a premium for the absolute newest generation only makes sense if you are constantly shifting massive asset folders or handling raw video footage. Sequential versus random speed. The big number stamped on the front of every box is sequential speed. It tells you how fast the drive reads a single, massive, unbroken file, like a massive archive or a movie file. It is the most misunderstood specification in storage. For a regular user, that 14,000 megabyte per second number means almost nothing. Your operating system lives and dies by random read speed, measured in IOPS, or low queue-depth 4 kilobyte random reads. This is the speed at which the drive finds thousands of loose, tiny files scattered across its memory chips, like when your web browser loads its cache or an application starts up. High random read speed is what makes a computer feel snappy and responsive. When a drive bottlenecks and causes your cursor to spin, it is almost always because its random read performance tanked under a background Windows update, not because its sequential speed was too low. DRAM versus DRAMless. To keep track of where every single file is stored, an SSD uses a map called a translation table. High-performance drives feature a dedicated DRAM chip on the physical board to store this map for instant access. Budget drives completely drop this chip to cut manufacturing costs. These DRAMless drives instead rely on a feature called Host Memory Buffer, or HMB, which borrows a tiny fraction of your computer's main system RAM to store the map. For a basic office machine, or a secondary drive meant solely for launching Steam games, a DRAMless drive is completely fine and saves you a noticeable amount of cache. But use that same DRAMless drive as your primary operating system drive while running heavy background tasks, and it quickly becomes annoying. Once the drive has to handle mixed read and write workloads simultaneously, the lack of dedicated onboard cache causes temporary stutters and sudden drops in responsiveness. SLC Cache. Every modern drive uses a clever structural trick to pretend it is faster than it actually is. The underlying flash memory is slow, so the drive sets aside a portion of its capacity to run in a temporary, hyper-fast mode called an SLC cache. When you start downloading a fresh game on Steam or copying a large 4K video file from an external camera, the transfer speed looks breathtaking. But keep that transfer going for more than 50 or 100 gigabytes, and you will hit a literal wall. The cache fills up completely, forcing the drive to write directly to its native, slower memory cells while simultaneously clearing out the older cache data. Your blazing fast drive suddenly drops to speeds slower than an old hard drive. If you are an editor working with hours of raw OBS recordings or high bitrate footage, look for a drive with a dynamic cache that recovers quickly, or prepare to watch your file transfers crawl midway through. NAND types. The actual memory chips that store your data come in different architectures, typically categorized as TLC and QLC. Inside the drive, thousands of microscopic cells hold electrical charges. TLC, or triple-level cell, stores 3 bits of data per cell, while QLC stores 4. Splitting the cells into more layers allows manufacturers to build massive 4 terabyte and 8 terabyte drives for very little money, but it forces a noticeable trade-off in raw performance and long-term durability. Sustained write speeds on QLC are notoriously poor once the cache runs out. However, the common internet myth that QLC is completely useless junk is flatly wrong. If your daily usage consists of downloading games, playing them, and browsing the web, a QLC drive will last for years without a single hitch because you are mostly reading data rather than constantly overwriting it. Controllers. While the memory chips hold your files, the real brains of the operation is the controller. This is a dedicated microchip that handles data routing, error correction, and thermal management. Major brands use components from specialized makers like Phison, Silicon Motion, and Innogrit, while giants like Samsung develop their own in-house silicon. The quality of this single chip matters far more than most buyers realize, as a bad controller can turn premium flash memory into an unstable brick. We saw this play out when the flagship Samsung 990 Pro suffered a severe firmware bug. A coding flaw in the controller's software caused the drive's health percentage to drop by 1% every single day, effectively destroying the lifespan of premium drives within months before an emergency patch was released. Similarly, certain budget drives utilizing Innogrit controllers earned the community nickname InnoShit after a wave of sudden, catastrophic failures where the controller simply forgot how to talk to the memory chips, rendering the entire drive completely unreadable from the BIOS without any warning. Thermals. All that processing power means modern drives generate a massive amount of heat. When a controller crosses its safe thermal limit, it triggers aggressive throttling, cutting your transfer speeds to a fraction of their maximum capability to keep from melting. This is why high-end 5th-generation drives look absurd, frequently shipping with thick metal heat sinks or loud, tiny cooling fans that whine inside your case. If you are putting a high-speed drive into a laptop, you have a completely different issue. The lack of internal airflow means a drive can heat up within seconds of starting a massive file copy. When installing a drive under a motherboard's built-in metal shield, leave the thin copper sticker on the drive itself. There is a persistent myth that removing this sticker improves cooling, but it is actually a highly engineered thermal spreader designed to move heat across the chips, and peeling it off usually just voids your warranty. TBW and Lifespan. Every time you delete a file and write a new one, the physical structure of the memory cells degrades slightly. Manufacturers measure this absolute lifespan using a metric called TBW, or terabytes written. A typical 1 terabyte drive might have a rating of 600 TBW, meaning you can completely fill and erase the entire drive 600 times before the warranty expires. For a pure gaming PC or a standard office workstation, you will almost certainly never exhaust a modern TLC drive during its usable lifetime. It takes years of normal use to even scratch the surface of that limit. The real danger comes from specific, sustained write workloads. If you use your drive as a constant scratch disk for professional video editing, run heavy database operations, or leave an OBS stream recording at extreme bit rates directly to the drive day after day, you can burn through that endurance rating far faster than you think. Hidden real-world problems. The spec sheet on an online store rarely tells the full story of what happens after 6 months of ownership. One of the most frustrating hidden issues is bad firmware quality, where a drive randomly drops offline or disappears entirely from your system's BIOS after waking up from sleep mode. Even worse is the widespread industry practice of component swapping. A brand will send out a specific SSD model to tech reviewers packed with premium controllers and fast TLC memory. Once the glowing reviews are published and the product page is flooded with 5-star ratings, the manufacturer silently swaps out those components for cheaper, slower DRAMless designs or low-end QLC chips under the exact same model name. Unless you run hardware utility tools at home, you might never know you paid a premium price for a heavily downgraded piece of hardware. Features people ignore. Beyond raw speeds, several background software features dictate whether your drive stays fast over time. Trim and automated garbage collection runs silently in the background, telling your operating system which blocks of data are no longer needed so the drive can wipe them clean before you write new files. Without these running properly, an SSD will progressively slow down to a crawl over months of use. Another feature gaining massive traction is direct storage, a software pipeline that allows games to stream asset data directly from your NVMe drive straight to your graphics card, bypassing the processor to eliminate loading screens in modern titles. Conclusion. At the end of the day, chasing benchmark numbers is a trap. You are far better off buying a spacious, reliable 2TB Gen 4 TLC drive than a bleeding-edge 1TB Gen 5 monster that constantly runs out of space and throttles under its own heat. Once you cross into decent Gen 4 territory, loading screens and Windows responsiveness pretty much cap out anyway. A stable, cool drive with room to breathe will always outlast a tiny flagship benchmark champion because it just works. What SSD are you running right now, and what issues have you personally experienced with it? Drop a like if this video helped you out, and subscribe for more simple tech guides.